Hello and welcome to FinextraTV. I'm Hannah Wallace. Joining us today in our virtual studio is Jack Pouderoyen, Director of Digital Assets Strategy at Swift. Jack, thank you very much for joining us in the studio.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me today. Happy to be here.
It's great to have you, and I'm going to jump straight in and talk about the landmark moment we had at Sibos 2025, where Swift announced the new blockchain-based ledger. This was a big moment for financial services and indeed the blockchain industry. Could you talk us through this crucial step to validating the value of blockchain technology in modernizing financial services?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that we're quite excited about to be able to announce at Sibos this year. Uh, at its core, it's fundamentally about addressing one of the most persistent challenges in the global financial system. So, how do we move value across borders instantly, securely, in a 24/7 manner in a way that actually keeps pace with the demands of an increasingly digital economy? For decades, Swift has provided the most secure and trusted network for financial institutions to communicate and transact globally. But as the world shifts towards 24/7 operations and new forms of tokenized value, the underlying infrastructure, in our view, needs to adapt and evolve as well. And so this announcement of a Swift ledger represents what you could see as the next logical evolution of our network, extending that reliability and interoperability that Swift is known for into a shared and blockchain-based environment. It's about enabling financial institutions to exchange and settle value directly on a common platform with the same legal and operational assurances that they have and that they trust today. And so on this announcement, we're working with more than 35 global institutions to build the shared ledger, which will accelerate the benefits of using blockchain technology in cross-border payments specifically, but while leveraging the strength of Swift's trust and security and network scale.
And I'm interested to hear what this means for Swift's broader strategy and your role in the payments industry.
Yeah, I think we could probably look at it as a continuation of our strategy today. We would say maybe the next chapter in Swift's long-standing role as the connective tissue for the financial system. So we already link more than 11,500 institutions worldwide, and we see the ledger as simply extending that connective tissue by bringing now tokenized forms of value into that same trusted network that moves the world's GDP every 3 days. Now, in the spirit of our cooperative structure, we're designing this, as I mentioned, with a coalition of banks. That's really to make sure that it's built for real world use cases, that's compliant, it's interoperable, it's aligned with existing financial regulation, for example. And so this shared ledger, I would say, is part of a kind of a multi-layered continuation of our digital asset strategy. The other key components of our digital asset strategy being around connectivity and orchestration for multi-network types of transactions. So of course, as the kind of the world that we're in is multi-network, being able to transact and interoperate and orchestrate transactions across both fiat and DLT-based platforms, that's also something that's core to what we're doing today. And so we think that these two developments, jointly from a digital asset standpoint, form a kind of a bank grade backbone for the digital asset economy. The one other piece I would point out from our strategy and the continuation here is while we're focused on digital assets and blockchain and new technology that can improve the speed and trust and availability of cross-border payments, we're equally looking at improving today's existing rails as well. And so the week before Sibos, we also announced a scheme, also with another coalition of banks, that will provide a set of global rules for particularly retail cross-border payments, provide a consistent level of transparency, speed, cost and predictability for consumers and businesses. So on one hand, it's very much kind of evolving for the future, but also continuing to invest in the existing rails today as well.
Some significant announcements there. Thank you, Jack. And I wanted to pull a quote from one of your panels during Sibos, which was interoperability is at the crux of everything, and there's not one ledger to rule them all. Please expand on this.
Yeah, I think this is it's probably no surprise to anybody, but it's at least in our view, it's how the financial system works today, right? We live in a world of multiple networks, multiple currencies, multiple regulatory regimes, and this kind of resulting inherent fragmentation is something that's always led to a bit of a challenge in cross-border payments. It ties up liquidity, it increases friction and adds operational costs. Um, and on one hand, it's a little bit ironic. So the promise of many kind of digital asset and shared ledger platforms has been to solve this fragmentation by bringing things together on a common platform. But a lack of real convergence or scale of any one platform has instead led to the creation of kind of new, larger digital islands that unintentionally fragments the system even further. And so we do see this world of a kind of a very kind of multi-chain future, both from a DLT standpoint, but also, of course, the existing system. And this is exactly why Swift's focus, first and foremost, is always on interoperability and connecting what's otherwise at risk of being a fragmented world. So we see it as our role to provide that same connectivity to network across the networks and institutions so that they're not disconnected from the rest of the world. And that the financial system as a whole continue to function as one interoperable ecosystem as new forms of value emerge and need to be connected into the financial system that we have today.
It's going to be fascinating to see how the landscape evolves, which brings me to my final question. Of course, the future of digital assets was at the heart of a lot of discussions over the course of Sibos. So how do you see this space evolving, and what needs to be front of mind for those future strategizing?
Yeah, look, I think it's the most exciting time in the space that we've seen. But if we look at history as a lesson, I think there's something that we can actually kind of gain from there, and it's that technology alone is not what's going to kind of win and scale for the network. So, or for the financial system, it's really around scale and trust. And so, every successful payment system in the past has been successful because it reached a critical mass, because it built a network that people rely on. And so, we think that's going to be also true for the digital asset era.
Safe to say, watch this space. Jack, thank you so much for your insights, and looking forward to reflecting on those further down the line. For now, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much.
Right. Thanks again so much for having me.